All right, all right. So I decided this morning when I was asked about a week and a half ago if I would do this, or if more than that I was ready to do this. Uh, my dad texted me, and Erica and my wife and I were sitting at the house, and he texted me and he's like, "You want to preach on Sunday, May 3rd?" And I showed it to Erica, and she does her wifely duties and jacks my phone from me and types yes. And so, right. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, "Babe, why would you say that?" And I'm expecting Dad to get back with me, and it's like 20 minutes and he hadn't said anything, and I'm like, "Are you being serious?" And it's been like another hour and he still hadn't said anything, and I'm like, "Oh, this guy was trying to yank my chain and pull my leg." I'm like, "This is not for real." And so he gets up the next morning. I couldn't sleep well, been thinking about it all night. I told her I freaked out just as soon as I heard that he asked me. I was already nervous. So I wake up and I call him, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, I was serious. Sorry, my phone died." And I'm like, "Leave me hanging all night long and your phone died." But so when he asked me, I've been trying to figure out all week what I could do, how I could compete with the standards that my dad has set up here on this pulpit. And I was telling him that, and he told me, "Don't try to be anybody else. Be who you are." And so after he told me that, and I felt a little bit better because I didn't have to do one of these like 97-page note sermons, And I started thinking, I was like, what do I have to offer? What do I have to give? What do I have to say, that God will mold my words to touch your ears and to touch your hearts, and that you felt here, or you left here feeling like you've been fulfilled, not that you're empty, that you got what you needed. And so we've been listening to this song, my wife and I, by Lauren Dingle, and it's called "How Can It Be?" And I'm going to go more into it as I go, but I have had some serious struggle in my life with some certain things. And this song, the first time I heard it, I asked the question immediately: how can it be that someone could love me, care about me, give me favor, give me hope when I felt like I had none, give me a desire to get up in the morning? Because if any of y'all know what I'm talking about, there was days that I didn't want to. And I was trying to figure this out. How can it be, that he would right my wrongs, that he would, make me new, that he could do all these things? And I've asked myself this question so many times in my life. So as I thought about this song, I was like, I think that'll be a great introduction, because about half of you probably know where I've been in my life and what I've done. The other half you'll soon find out. So I thought that'd be a great way to start. And I was looking for something. I didn't just want it to be my story, no Bible incorporated in it. So I started looking through and studying. And even when I was at work and I was supposed to be working, I'd shoot down to my office and get on the computer and study. And I took my Bible with me, and I was trying to just get as much time as I could. And there's this guy, I don't know if y'all have ever heard of him, but his name's David. And he's a pretty big deal in the Bible. You hear about him quite a bit. And I believe they even said that he was a man after God's own heart, was David. Literally after, not when we say, "Oh, I'm a man after you're the woman of my own heart," whatever, however you say it. I couldn't think of it. It sounded better earlier. But, he was literally a man after God's own heart. And so, I was like, well, how can I incorporate this into my story as well? And as I was studying and as I was looking, I found something through my studying and my looking between the Bible here and the verses on the internet, and it was called "The 5 Mistakes of David." And it was this long blog, and as I started reading the blog, I was like, well, that sounds good, but I want to make sure that it matches up with what's happening here. So I started reading through 2 Samuel. And that's where it tells most of the story of David's sin and sorrow is in 2 Samuel. And I found these, and I'm going to read these to you real quick. Mistake number 1 was that he didn't do what he knew he was supposed to do. David did what he liked to do. You know, even though he was a man after God's own heart, and he'd done all these amazing, great things with God on his side, with God leading him, he still had flesh. He was still a man of flesh and had wants and desires that regardless of being a man after God's own heart, he still made mistakes. And so the first one is he didn't do what he was supposed to do. The second mistake that he made was that he indulged in every desire that he had. In every earthly and fleshly desire that he had, he indulged. Mistake number 3 is that he would ignore personal warning. Regardless of the feeling that he had inside of himself, regardless of what God was telling him, regardless of what others were telling him, David continued to do what he wanted to do. He would never heed to the warning call. He would never do any of that. He just, still going to do my thing, basically. And so that was number 3. Number 4, he chose not to kill sin, so it will kill others. And then number 5 is he chose to cover up rather than to confess. So I just thought that was cool, and that's kind of what my basis is going to be off of today. As looking through those this week, I feel like all 5 of those relate right back to some of the places I've been in my life. As most of you guys know, my dad is the preacher here. He has been a minister my entire life. I think before I was born, he even started. So all 27 years plus some. So I have grown up, and y'all know, man, the man brings a powerful word and a good word. And so I have grown up in a household where I know what's right and I know what's wrong. And even though I knew these things, and even though he would push these, not push these things, but even though I would come to church and I would know these things, and that these things were in our life and in our household, I still chose to do what was wrong in my life and not what was right. I ran 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction anytime and every time I could. And that is no lie. From the age of 15 until a few years ago, probably a few months ago, if we want to be for real about it. I mean, I still make mistakes. I'm not perfect, But, for 12 years, for the last 12 years, I've ran so hard, and I really didn't even know what I was running from. Just took off because I wanted to do what Chaz wanted to do. And this brings me to mistake number 2, indulged in everything that wasn't right. And I guess it was 16 or 17 years old, and this is not a pity story. I'm just telling you guys where I'm coming from and what led to where I'm at today. I had a friend of mine in high school who passed away on Valentine's Day of 2004. The day that happened was the day that I decided I was going to, numb that pain with alcohol and all the goodness of that stuff. And many of you know there's not much goodness after the first little bit. It's just a lot of struggle and sorrow more than the goodness. So, I decided I was going to do that, and I was going to indulge in that lifestyle. So I shot off down on that lifestyle, and before you know it, as soon as I turned 21, I'm in my first rehab, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that, and I'm running, and I'm lying, and I'm cheating, and I'm cussing and stealing, and everything. I mean, everything. Indulging in everything that I know is not right. I know what's right, but 1 and 2 fall right in line. I indulge in everything that's not right. I already forgot what number 3 is because I'm nervous, so I'm sorry. So y'all just bear with me for a minute. Okay, and rolling right into number 3, I just like David, would ignore personal warning. Whether it be from that feeling you get in the pit of your stomach when you know you're doing something and you shouldn't be, or whether it's mom and dad telling you, man, your luck's running out. You're only going to run for so long until it catches you and bites you in the rear end. And whether it be, people, I don't necessarily consider warning to just be like, hey, this is about to happen to you. Hey, something bad's going to happen. Hey, you better calm down. I also believe that warning is when somebody speaks something good on your life. hey, you've got so much to give. You've got so much, for the kingdom of God to put and to show to everyone. I feel like that's a warning or telling me what I need to do in my life. And instead of heeding to that warning and heeding to that call, you go off in the other direction. And I can't, too many times. As a matter of fact, I think like 2 weeks ago when my dad was sitting up here, I still said I would never be up here preaching. And I'm not, that didn't work out. But never say never yet. I'm learning. But I ignored so many personal warnings in my life. Countless rehabs. Getting, and if you guys didn't know, I'm not scared to show it, and I'm not ashamed of where I've been and what I've done. But I've got a felony on my record, 2 years in prison for a theft charge that started with alcohol. All because I thought I was gonna, indulge in everything. And so, but I never had any of the warnings, the probation, the rehabilitation, the mom and dad praying constantly for me to, change my life, the gut feeling. Everybody in this room, or a lot of you in this room that were with my mom and dad through the time, praying for me. But I didn't want to stop and listen to the warning signs. I wanted to keep doing Chaz. I wanted to keep staying, which I don't understand why we, why it's so hard for us to dig out of that hole, that pit that we get ourselves into. And I'm not putting blame on anybody, because I couldn't do it either myself. And we get so far down in this pit of sorrow and despair and oh me and oh my and I can't do this and I can't handle this and I have no reason to live. I have no self-worth. I have no place here on earth. And I listened to that so many times, and like my dad said, that is the biggest load of bull I've ever heard. We have a purpose, and God has made a purpose in each and every one of our lives, and y'all ain't got to get scared. It don't mean you're gonna have to come up here like me. You're because this right here, I'm telling you, my stomach is in knots. But that's not what a calling necessarily is. But I never stopped for those warnings. And sometimes God will let us get in places to where He says, "You're going to shut up and listen." He probably doesn't say that, but He says, "You're going to shut up and listen." He may say it. Yeah, I don't know. He may. And sometimes those places are not good places and not fun places and not cool places. But, staring at the same blue walls and the same 60 men for almost 800 days will make you stop and listen to some things you never heard before. You know what I mean? But even when I first got there, when I first went to, was unavoidably detained. And when I first got there, I still, oh man, I'm good now. I'm hard, and I've been to prison, and it is what it is. I'm like a month and a half in, and ain't nobody mess with me. I'm good. And you still have that mentality. I mean, you get around a lot of people that, regardless of what God's trying to do for you, trying to make you sit still and listen, there's a lot of people in there. 75-80% of those people in there are not trying to hear that warning and not trying to hear that call. There's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of not good stuff. I mean, there's some nights it's scary to go to bed in that place, and I'm not telling you guys this to make y'all think I'm some kind of big bad dude, because I'm not, but what I'm really trying to get at is, when I got in there and I finally started listening to the call that God had for my life, and I got in a place to where I quit thinking stupid and I started thinking better. He put me in a place, even in prison, even in Texas prison, He put me in a place where I had so much favor and so much blessing on my life, even in a place that does nothing but drag you down and make you more depressed and more in a hole than you thought you were in before you got there. And he put favor in my life. He let me lead the choir at the prison. He got me in a faith-based dorm. Youngest person ever at Hutchins unit to be able to work for the warden. supposed to be 50 and older. I was 25. You know, I mean, favor. Because for once in my life, instead of, and this is nothing to do with me, but for once in my life, he got me to sit down and listen. He got me to sit down and hear what he had for my life. Does it mean that I do it perfect every day? That's a good one. That's a good one, Coach Jones. That not at all. Not at all. And my wife will be the first to tell you, I do a lot of stupid stuff. I make a lot of mistakes. But the point is that regardless of where we think we've been, the things that we've done, whether we've stole and lied and cheated and drank ourselves into some ridiculous oblivion or drugged ourselves into some ridiculous oblivion, you know, just because those things have happened doesn't mean that you have to continue to step back to them. Doesn't mean that you can do it on your own, because I didn't. Had it been me, what was Sunday morning? It's what time is it? 11? I'd probably be pretty close to the bar right now if it wasn't, if it was just me trying to do it. And I can't do it on my own. And the Lord has put people in my life, my mom, my dad, my wife, my sister, and her husband. He has put people in my life to hold me accountable and keep me set up and keep me going. And that's the thing, you know, we come into church and, you know, we went out on a bender, or we went out on a streak, and we come in here looking like we ain't slept or bathed in 2 weeks. But this is what we do, and I'm going to do some moving because I don't like sitting still either. But we do this. We come in here. Where's the back row? Yeah. So we come in here and excuse me, sorry. And we sit back here and we kind of sit like this, and we got tears coming out of our eyes, and we're so ashamed, and who's seeing me and who's looking at me, and I feel terrible. I feel disgusting. I feel gross. How could anybody love me or care about me? And let me tell you a little something about the Refuge. We're a little different here, if y'all hadn't noticed. And we do things a little different. But the biggest thing is, instead of coming in here and feeling so bad, we didn't come in here to feel bad. That warning tugged on our heart and told us that we needed to be somewhere today, that something in our life needed to change. But we don't have to be ashamed of anything. I'm telling you, if I can stand up here as messed up as I am and have been, I mean, y'all can tell everybody you want, man, y'all come to the Refuge, they got a felon speaking, they got a felon up there preaching, you know. But I mean seriously, and the reason I feel like my dad asked me to do this is because I feel like every day when I come in, there's new people coming in, there's new issues that we're faced with, and you know, Dad has been so good about following the call that God's put on his life and making this a recovery based, a church where you can be loved and not judged, and we've done so good to be that and to continue with that. But I think what we need to remember is that or what he put me up here for, what God, put it on my dad's heart to put me up here, is that I can relate to so many of you guys that have been in here. I've been there. I've been there. And so he hasn't necessarily been there on my side, but he's been there through my side. But I think he wanted you guys to hear it from a perspective of, I've been there. I've been in the lowest of the lows, and I've been to the highest of the highs, and I've been where I am now. And there's a song that says, it's by Casting Crowns, but it says, not because of who I am, but because of what he's done. Has nothing to do with me. It has all to do with him, and he's put us in a place. He's put us in a place here at the Refuge and in Denison that with what we've got going on here, and we can reach so far. I talk to people at work, or I just talk to people. You can ask my wife; she gets irritated because I'll talk to people anywhere. Doesn't matter where I'm at. But man, and they, they'll say, "Oh, what are you guys doing? Tomorrow? Oh, we're going to church, and oh, where do you guys go to church? The Refuge. Oh, what kind of church is that?" And we don't. oh, well, it's a Pentecostal or it's a recovery based. It's a place to belong. Anybody, you know what I mean? We'll take anybody. And that's what Erica and I tell them, you know, we are not, we don't care if you got shorts on. We don't care if you got a hat on. We don't care if you can't afford much and you come in with what you got, you know. And that's what I love so much about this place is ever since my dad did this, you know, with everything I've had in my life, I don't feel judged. I don't feel like I come in here and everybody's like, well, this dude here, you know, and I don't feel like that. And I mean, it's just to look out here and to see everyone and to see like how people's lives are changed. To sit in here and know what a lot of you people have been through, because I've talked to a lot of you guys and I know a lot of you, and to see where we've been and where he's brought us now. It's powerful. Sorry, I'm like my dad. I talked too long on that one point, and I got to move on to mine. All right, and the fifth one says, choose to cover up rather than confess. There's so many times in my life and all of our lives that we, instead of, oh God, I need help with this, I did this, whatever it may be, or even to anybody else, you know, who's trying to help and to just do anything to be there for us. And, you know, we would rather, we think we're helping them by not telling them. And in the end, it usually hurts them more than we thought we helped them, if you know, or if you've been there and you know what I mean. And I have, in my life, that's probably been one of my biggest personal issues. For whatever reason, I just think I can't tell the truth about anything, that it'd be easier to tell a little white lie and I'll figure it out later. And then it always ends up coming and crushing down on me. And it never turns out good. And I mean, that's what happened to David. You know, David's tried to lie and not say what he'd done. He tried to be, in a sense, you know, a con artist, do things that he thought was okay, you know, because he was King David, and that he could get away with, and that it wouldn't be a big deal, that nobody would know. And it talks about how, you know, after David saw Bathsheba bathing on the rooftop, and she stayed the night with him, and she became pregnant. Y'all all know that. If you don't, there you go. And, you know, she became pregnant, and when he found out that she became pregnant, instead of confessing or being honest or telling the truth, hey, I made a mistake, you know, things happened, I made a mistake, he decided, oh yeah, because I do what David wants to do, I got a bright idea, and I'm going to send Uriah out on the front line, and I'm going to, you know, slip him a note, tell him, hey, this is what you're doing, and if I put him on the front line, I know he'll die in this battle. And that's what he did. And so Uriah was killed in battle. And then David's like, I'm good now. Her husband's dead. You know, and in the Bible it talks about, you know, if your husband dies, then you're good to remarry. So, you know, he was like, yeah, I'm good. I'll marry her now. We've got a kid together, and it's all going to be good and gravy. You know what I mean? Everything's going to be okay. But little does he know that God decided to send Nathan to David. And when Nathan came to David, these were his words. But God was not, and this is 2 Samuel 12, 27 through 34. And it says, but God was not at all pleased with what David had done, and sent Nathan to David. Nathan said to him, I think I told you the wrong one, sorry. I think it's 12, 1 through something. All the Messenger Bible's a little different, I'm sorry. But it says, but God was not at all pleased with what David had done, and sent Nathan to David. Nathan said to him, there were two men in the same city, one rich, the other poor. The rich man had huge flocks of sheep, herds of cattle. The poor man had nothing but one little female lamb, which he had bought and raised. It grew up with him and his children as a member of the family. It ate off his plate and drank from his cup and slept on his bed. It was like a daughter to him. One day a traveler dropped in on the rich man. He was too stingy to take an animal from his own herd or flocks to make a meal for his visitors. So he took the poor man's lamb and prepared a meal to set before his guests. David exploded in anger. As surely as God lives, he said to Nathan, the man who did this ought to be lynched. He must repay for the lamb 4 times over for his crime and his stinginess. And then here's where it gets good. Nathan tells David, you're the man, said Nathan. And here's what God, the God of Israel, has to say to you. I made you king over Israel. I freed you from the fist of Saul. I gave you your master's daughter and other wives to have and to hold. I gave you both Israel and Judah. And if that hadn't been enough, I'd have gladly thrown in much more. So why have you treated the word of God with brazen contempt, doing this great evil? You murdered Uriah the Hittite, then took his wife as your wife. Worse, you killed him with an Ammonite sword. And now, because you treated God with such contempt and took Uriah the Hittite's wife as your wife, killing and murder will continually plague your family. This is God speaking, remember. So, if you heard that, that's pretty powerful. David's getting so angry because David does what's right and he does what's loyal. And then Nathan points it. That's you, dude. You did that. And so many times, and really my point here is that so many times in our lives, we have that moment. Something will be said to us and, we'll get mad and we'll get fired up and they deserve this and they deserve that. And then you kind of get that, should have drank a V8 moment. That was me. Those are the things that I was doing. This was not for me to place blame elsewhere. And it gets to a point in life where blame placed elsewhere doesn't work anymore. I did it. It was me. I've made these mistakes. I've done these things. Not because God doesn't love me or doesn't care about me, but because I decided that I was going to run. I decided that I didn't have time for what he had for me in my life. And I'm telling you, there has been, I didn't kill somebody and he didn't plague my family for eternity for murder, but when he put me in jail, it plagued some things for me in life at first. Hard to get a job when you get out. Tough for people to trust you. Anywhere you go, it says theft of property. Period. They don't see Chaz Goodwin or what Chaz Goodwin can bring to the table. They see state of Texas says no. You know what I mean? And no, nobody else's fault but mine. I had so many warnings in my life, so many from God to slow down and to stop, to relax and to listen to his voice, to hear what he has to say, to live for him and not live for Chaz. Because I thought living for Chaz was going to get me everything. It got me something all right. Wasn't what I wanted, but it got me something. So, there you go, 2 years. That's right. So I don't have a long message. This isn't going to be, some take forever, but I just wanted to try to come up today and tell you guys from my personal experience and from my point of view that we don't have to be ashamed of who we were or what we were, because just like the song said, it's what he's made us, what we've become through him. Not who we were when we didn't want to listen to him, but what we are now and what we are today. And it's so crazy to know that things can be so bad in a life, and look so dim and so, for lack of a better word or anything. But and then just to see that if you, doesn't mean I do everything perfect, but if you start living your life for God and not for yourself, where he can put you and the favor that he'll have on your life. And so I just wanted to let you guys know that here at the Refuge and at this place, we have nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing that you've done, nowhere that you've been. We love you, and we're going to keep pushing forward with you. It's 11:15. Well, no, it's my first time. I'm nervous, and I don't have that much. So We pray. If y'all want to stand with me this morning, we're going to pray, and then I don't even know that they got through a lesson back there, but sorry, guys. All right, everybody bow their head, please. Dear Lord, we just want to come to you one more time today. We just want to thank you for the opportunity that we had to be in your presence this morning. I thank you for using your words to speak through me, and pray that it touched a life this morning, and that, nobody feels ashamed and nobody feels too far gone to be loved by you and to be helped by you, Lord God. We ask that you be with us this week. We ask that you remind us of that on a daily basis, that we are your children and that we are loved more than we could ever hope or imagine or think. We ask that you just be with everyone this week in their trials and whatever they may have going on this week. We love you and we thank you for all that you do. In your name we pray. Amen.